Argenti is a physical erudition hypercarry that deals massive amounts of AOE damage, while still maintaining a respectable single target damage output on his ultimate. His main gimmick is that his ult's energy cost is high, but the damage it comes with is equally tremendous in scale. This video will talk about Argenti's best light cones, relics, team building, and Eidolons from an F2P perspective. I've laid out the chapters so you can skip ahead to the part you need to hear most. Kit breakdown. Argenti's kit is very simple. Let's start with his talent. For every enemy he hits with his basic, skill, or ultimate, he regenerates 3 energy and gains 2.5% crit rate. This stacks up to 10 times, and he'll keep those stats for the rest of combat. If he uses his skill and hits 5 enemies, he regenerates 15 energy and gains 12.5% crit rate. At max stacks, he has a total of 25% crit rate. This allows Argenti to excel in AOE content as it lets him gain so much more energy in waves. And that's not even considering the energy gains from kills. Up next is his ultimate, which has 2 modes. The first one is a 90 cost ultimate, the lowest cost ultimate in the game. It deals AOE physical damage, though its MV is only a little higher than his skill. Only use it if you're low on cycles and need to clear a wave instantaneously, since his 180 energy ultimate is way more worth it. This is because his full ultimate deals an immense amount of AOE damage, and also has additional damage that bounces to a random enemy. This allows Argenti to deal both massive AOE damage and a respectable 3 target and even single target damage. To put it simply, this ultimate deals 850% of Argenti's attack in a single target and has 1970% total damage when against 5 enemies. His skill is a simple physical AOE attack, and you'll spam this for the energy gain and the talent stacks. He also gains energy whenever an enemy enters battle. This means that he gains energy from summons or from new waves. This really pushes him into being the best pure fiction unit even further. He also deals more damage to enemies that are below 50% HP. Argenti's base attack is high, as with all 5-star DPSs. However, his HP and death stats are quite low. While you're playing Argenti, it's urgent that you run a highly invested sustainer, since you're most likely running him with 2 other Harmony characters, which tend to be squishy as well. Rotation. Since Argenti has 180 energy, he'll usually have a 5 or 4 turn ult rotation, depending on how many enemies there are on the field. This can be lowered a bunch if you have other external sources such as Tingyun or Huohuo. People have considered taking an ERR rope for him, but his damage just gets gimped a lot if you do so. I don't think it's worth taking the ERR rope just for a 5-turn rotation. With both Tingyun and Huohuo, he can run a 3-turn rotation. Since Argenti excels in AOE content, this could be pushed much faster due to him killing mobs. You're most likely going to see his rotations being 1 turn faster than expected, so stay on your toes and just press it when you think it's optimal. Light cones. His signature and best light cone is an instant before a gaze. It grants the wearer crit damage and increases their ultimate's damage percent depending on the user's max energy. There aren't any gimmicks to it, it's just a straightforward stat stick. I don't think Argenti is reliant on his light cone, but it is nice if you want an upgrade. Personally, I wouldn't spend 75 pulse on it, especially if you have other 4-star light cones. Today is another peaceful day as 5 follows his signature quite closely due to his high energy cost. Even if Night on the Milky Way is often looked down upon by the community, it'll definitely be irrelevant in pure fiction. Potentially even his best in slot if you have a high uptime. Make the World Clamor S5 is usually useless due to the energy regen only happening at the start of the fight, but Argenti's energy cost and ultimate damage are so high that it's actually competitive against the other light cone options. Genius's Repose S5 is good because you'd be able to proc the effect often in AOE content. And finally, the baseline is Seriousness of Breakfast S5. If you don't have any of the previously listed light cones, Breakfast is still going to be solid for you. Here's a chart comparing the light cones. I'll link it down in the description if you want to check it out. Shout out to Hunter Key for letting me showcase it. Relics. Argenti has a normal attack crit loadout. Crit percent on his body, speed or attack percent on his boots, damage percent on his sphere, and attack percent on his rope. You're going to be aiming for as much crit as possible, and then pick up attack percent and speed substats along the way. Some break effect here and there isn't too bad, since physical breaks and bleeds are still going to hurt. Since Argenti will be mainly used on pure fiction, you shouldn't really worry about hitting 134 speed or any breakpoint at all for it. This is because zero cycling doesn't even exist, so you should only worry about being fast enough to kill the needed amount of waves in a set amount of time. Just hop on enka.network and get the highest highest roll values possible. Quick reminder, if you're enjoying the video, please subscribe. Thanks. Argenti doesn't have a dedicated relic as of now, so his best relic set is 4-piece Champion of Streetwise Boxing. The next best is 2-piece Boxing and any 2-piece attack relic. And as usual, 4-piece Quantum follows a little behind that, and is actually better if the enemies are Quantum weak. The Quantum set will gain more effectiveness the more Def Shred you have in your comp, though I think that will be a little hard to apply due to new waves constantly entering in AOE content. I'd recommend that you farm the physical set, but if you're farming Quantum Cave anyway, then you can use the pieces you got there on Argenti too. I've got no idea if they're going to release a dedicated relic set for Argenti. For planar light cones, Inert Cell Soto is the best since most of his damage comes from his ultimate. This would mean that this funnels his damage into his ult. If you'd prefer for his skills to deal more damage, then Rutilant Arena would be a close second. If you don't want to farm either of those, then you can stick with Glamoth or SSS. Team building. Argenti is a hyper carry, and you'll most likely run double Harmony alongside him to boost his stats even further. Tingyun, Asta, Yukong, and Bronya will be good alongside him. Most of them are SP positive or SP neutral, so you wouldn't have too much trouble managing SP with his teams. While Hanya would be an okay choice for a Harmony, I would suggest against it, since her talent's damage increase is single target, and I feel that it wouldn't be too effective with Argenti's broad strikes. You could potentially run Pela alongside Argenti, but you can afford to use SP in his teams, so I'd still push you to use Harmonies instead of Pela for him, especially since there's no source of extra Def Shred through Argenti's kit or Light Cone. For his sustainers, you can pick anyone really. Ho-Ho's great because the energy generation on her ultimate is based on the unit's max energy, so Argenti gains a lot of value from her. I think his best current team right now would be Tingyun, Bronya, and Ho-Ho. Run your supports to be as fast as possible, keep Argenti's speed low, and put on attack percent boots. Aim for Bronya's speed to be 1.7 times of Argenti's speed. You're going to be alternating between Bronya's skill and basic so that your team won't run out of SP. If you can't afford such a high speed, then you can set Bronya to be 1 speed lower than Argenti and enjoy your double turns. Eidolons. For the question of E1 versus S1, I'd suggest E1 if you already have a usable light cone on him. Argenti's Eidolons don't have anything too notable. They're nice to have, but aren't going to be necessary for most content. His E1 adds 4% crit damage for each stack of his talent, to a maximum of 40% extra crit damage. E2 increases his attack by 40% if there are 3 or more enemies on the field when he uses his ultimate. E4 increases his starting talent stacks by 2 and increases the maximum stacks by 2 as well. E6 makes his ultimate ignore 30% def, which is quite significant, especially if you have other sources of Def Shred or Def Ignore. However, this is attached to E6, and Pela doesn't work the best against waves of enemies. Would be nice for an elite killer Argenti though. Conclusion. Argenti is going to be an A tier for me. He's going to be amazing at AOE content, and Pure Fiction looks like it's going to be here to stay. There currently aren't many good physical carry options right now, other than Clara and maybe Sushang E6. I have a feeling that Argenti will be the best one we'll have for quite some time. If you really want physical coverage, or if you just want to obliterate waves in Pure Fiction, you can pull for him and you won't regret it. I don't think he's broken or matches the raw damage output of Dun Hung or Jingliu, but he can have his moments of insane burst damage with his ultimate. I'm not pulling for Argenti. I'm deciding between Ruan Mei and Kafka. I'm waiting it out to see if Ruan Mei is going to be strong. I already have my Mono Quantum plan for one team, so I just have to lock in this dot team and I'm going to be set for the rest of the game's runtime. If you've got any suggestions or questions for this video or about things in the future, leave it down in the comments. That's it for me. My name is Kyte, and thanks for watching. See ya!